Welcome to part 2 of Unit 4 mid-unit review. We'll be continuing on with question 3. Excuse me. We are focusing on the zero product property. There is a typo in here. This D should not be there. So we will continue on. So we have x squared minus 11x plus 19 equals a negative 5. So we have to have everything on the same side. So I'm going to add this 5 to both sides. So what I'm left with is x squared minus 11x plus 19 plus 5 is 24. So here, we're going to work the same way we did. This is going to equal 0. And I'm going to see what my factors of 24 are. So my factors of 24 are 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, and 4 and 6. So now I need to look to see which of these values will get me to 11. Here I am adding. So our options then again are, if we are positive times positive equals positive, negative times negative equals positive, and a positive times a negative equals a negative. So my options for this one are either a positive and a positive or a negative and a negative. Since my middle term is negative, that tells me that both of my middle terms are going to be negative. Putting my x's here. And then I need to figure out which of my options will give me a negative 11 when I add them together. 24 plus 1 is 25, 12 plus 2 is 14, 8 plus 3 is 11, 6 plus 4 is 10. So we need a 3 and an 8. Again, I'm going to solve for those. X minus 3 equals 0, x minus 8 equals 0, add 3, it's 3, add 8. Okay, that was a bit of an easy one. Now I'm going to do the next one. Here, since I don't have that C value, I need to do this one a little bit differently. The easiest way to do this one is to factor out that x. So first I'm going to figure out what my factors are. So my factors for the first one are 7 times x times x. My second one is just an x, so that's where I'm getting that x from. Excuse me. So I have x. What's left here is a 7 and an x. What's left here is just 1. This one that's out here, that one is always going to equal 0. There's nothing else that's happening to it. It's automatically going to be 0. Then I can pull this out of its parentheses and solve that. So I have 7x plus 1 equals 0. I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. 7x equals a negative 1. I'm multiplying here, so I need to divide. So what I'm left with is x equals a negative 1, 7. All right, we're going to continue to move on. Let's see if I can prop my phone up a little bit. Bear with me. Okay, there we go. All right, so our next problem is going to work very similarly. So we have 3x squared plus x minus 10 equals 0. So my factors of 10 then hold on, bear with me. Hopefully y'all can see. No, I'm just gonna keep holding it. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so I need to figure out what my factors of 10 are. So my factors of 10 are 1 times 10 and 2 times 5. I have this 3 here. So when I'm working with a standard form that has a value in front, I automatically need to put that value right there. That isn't always going to be the case depending on what your factors are of the number. But in this case, 3 is prime, so my only options are 3 and 1. Then I need to figure out, are there values that I can multiply these together that will get me a 1 in the middle? I'm going to do the same thing. 3 times 1 is 3. With a 10, that'll give me 7. That doesn't work. 3 times 10 is 30. Way too big. That doesn't work. 3 times 2 is 6. Minus 5 would give me a 1. So those are the values that I need. So I need to multiply the 3 times the 2. The 2 is going to go in the back. My 5 will go there. I am subtracting here, which means that one of my symbols needs to be negative and the other one needs to be positive. Since I have a positive 1, my larger value needs to be 1. So here I have a 5, or 3 times 2, which is 6. 6 is my larger value. My addition symbol needs to go there. My negative will go there. Then we'll solve this again. 3 minus 5 equals 0. X plus 2 equals 0. Here I'm going to add 5. 3x equals 5 divided by 3. X equals 5 thirds. Here I am adding 2, so I'm going to subtract 2. X equals a negative 2. All right, let's keep going. Here I don't have that C value again, so let's go ahead and factor out what we can. I have 7 times x, that exponent is telling me how many x's I have, and a 2 times an x. The x is the only thing I have in common, so that's going to come out front. What I'm left with is a 7x. Got rid of those. I'm adding here, which means I'm going to add here, and what's left over is a 2. This then again becomes x equals 0. And then I have 7x plus 2 equals 0, and I'm going to solve for that x. All right, this one looks a little bit messy, but let's go ahead and tackle it. Again, I need everything on the left, so I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. I have x squared. 5 minus 3 is 2. That becomes a positive 2 minus 35. I'm going to figure out my factors of 35 is 1 times 35. 2 does not work. It is not even. 3 does not work. 4 does not work. 5 works. 5 times 7 is 35. So my only options here are 1 and 35 and 5 and 7. I need to figure out which of those have a difference of 2. 35 minus 1 is 34. 7 minus 5 is 2. Those are the values that I need. I'm going to put together my parentheses. I have my x's. They automatically go in front. I know I need a 5 and a 7. Now I need to figure out what my symbols are. I have a subtraction here, which means I need a negative and a positive. And I have a positive here, which means that the positive value needs to go with my larger number. 7 is larger than 5, so that gets my plus sign. The 5 gets my negative. All right. Moving on. Now, these are a little bit of a mixture of everything. So our the way that we solve these will be slightly different. This problem is a difference of squares. 4 is squared, x is squared, and 81 is squared. So all of these numbers are squared. I have a negative symbol, which is why we say it's a difference of squares. This one, we're going to set up 2 sets of parentheses. The square root of 4 is 2. So I have 2 in each set of parentheses. I have x and x, because I have my variable. The square root of 81 is 9, or 9 times 9 is 81. Now the fun part about difference of squares, because I don't have that middle section, the middle terms need to cancel out. So I need a negative and a positive to make everything go away. When I solve this, I have 2x minus 9 equals 0, and 2x plus 9 equals 0. I'm going to add 9 to both sides here since I'm subtracting. 2x equals 9. Divide everything by 2. X equals 9 halves. Here I'm adding 9, so I'm going to subtract 9. 2x equals a negative 9. Divide everything by 2. X equals a negative 9 halves. All right, let's keep working. Hopefully y'all are getting the hang of this by now. One moment, let me reply to a couple messages that I've been getting. Sorry about that. Okay, moving on. So we have x squared plus 10x plus 24. Again, I'm going to figure out the factors of 24. My factors of 24 are 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. I'm going to make my 2 sets of parentheses. My x goes in front. These are both addition, so I'm going to have addition. Now I need to figure out which of my values add to 10. 1 plus 24 is 25, 2 plus 12 is 14, 3 plus 8 is 11, 4 plus 6 is 10. Does not matter which number goes where, but 4 and 6 are our values. All right, let's keep going. Oh, what did I forget to do again? X plus 4 equals 0, minus 4 minus 4, x equals a negative 4, x plus 6 equals 0, minus 6 minus 6, x equals a negative 6. Here we go. All right, back to B. Sorry, C. All right, again, we have a 2 in front. 2 is prime, so I'm going to have a 2 and a 1. My x's automatically come along. And now I need to figure out the factors of 10. 10 is 1 times 10 or 2 times 5. So how can I get a 13 in the middle? So let's start working this through. I have a positive number here and a negative number here. That tells me that both of these values are going to be negative. So now I'm going to continue to work this through. So 2 times 1 would be 2, plus 10 would be 12. That's not 13. 2 times 10 is 20 plus 1. That also doesn't give me 13. 2 times 5 is 10. Plus 2 is 12. That also does not give me 13. This one does not look factorable. Let me check my notes. Okay, 2 times 1 is 2, plus 10 is 12. 2 times 10 is 20, plus 1 is 21. 2 times 2 is 4. Plus 5 is 9. 2 times 5 is 10. Right. This is one that is not factorable. And I'm assuming there's a typo. I'm guessing that should have been a 12. But that is an example of one that is not factorable. All right, let's keep moving on and just call that one not factorable. All right, so I have x squared minus 7x. I have equal to 8. I want everything on the other side, so I'm going to subtract 8, which leaves me with x squared minus 7x minus 8. Now I'm going to focus on the factors of 8. 8 is 1 times 8 and 2 times 4. I'm going to make my parentheses. I'm going to put my x's in front, get those out of the way. Now I'm going to look at my symbols. I have a negative and a negative, which means that the only way to multiply to get a negative is a negative and a positive. Now I need to figure out which of my numbers, when I subtract them, will give me a 7. 8 minus 1 is 7. So now I need to figure out how will I get a negative 7. The symbol right here always goes with the larger value. So my negative goes with the 8. My positive goes with the 1. If I take those out of my parentheses, x minus 8 equals 0. I'm going to add 8 to both sides. X equals a positive 8. Here I have x plus 1 equals 0. Subtract 1, x equals a negative 1. All right, let's keep moving on. Last factoring one, and then we are on to the graph. All right. So here I have x squared minus 64. This again is the difference of squares. I'm going to make my 2 sets of parentheses. My x goes in front. The square root of 64. 64. And the square root is 8. I have an 8 and an 8 in both of them. To make the middle term go away, I need an addition and a subtraction. Doesn't matter which one goes which, you need them both. Now I'm going to take those out again. X minus 8 equals 0. X plus 8 equals 0. I'm going to add 8 to both sides here because I'm subtracting. To get rid of that, I need to add. X equals a positive 8. I'm going to subtract 8 here since I'm adding. X equals a negative 8. All right, last problem. Yep, last problem. Okay, so here I've got y equals x squared plus 8x minus 20. So what we need to do is we need to solve this the same way. So I'm going to start with my factors of 20. So I have 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 3 does not work, 4 times 5. Those are the values that I'm going to need. I'm going to make my 2 sets of parentheses. my x's go in front. I have a negative symbol here. The only way to get a negative when I multiply is a negative times a positive. Now I need to figure out which of my values have a difference of 8. Here, 20 minus 1 is 19, 10 minus 2 is 8, 5 minus 4 is 1. So the numbers that I need are 2 and 10. My symbol here is positive, which means that the symbol needs to go with the larger number. My larger number is 10, so 10 needs to go with the positive symbol. So I'm going to take both of these out of the parentheses and have them equal to 0. I'm going to add 2 here. I'm going to subtract 10 here. The reason I'm doing this, setting these equal to 0, is because this tells me where the x-intercepts are. By having them equal to 0, or the y as a 0, it's telling me that I'm only moving left and right on my graph. I'm not moving up and down. So to graph this, I'm going to move 2 units to the right and no up and down. That gets rid of that value. Then I have a negative 10 as my other. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There is my second x-intercept. And if you notice, question A is asking for the x-intercepts. So my x-intercepts are x equals a positive 2 and x equals a negative 10. Then to continue graphing, we can find the vertex. An easy way to find the vertex is to figure out how many units between the dots. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 12 units between the dots. If you remember, our images are symmetrical. And what that means is that what I have on one side is what I have on the other. So what this information can tell me is how to find the middle. That will be my axis of symmetry, and that will tell me where my vertex is, because my vertex goes through my axis of symmetry. To find the midway point, I'm going to divide that by 2, and that gives me 6. So I'm going to count 6 units between the numbers. And it doesn't matter which side you start with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if I count the other way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I get at the same place. I'm going to make a dotted line here to let us know that is our axis of symmetry. So what we need to do with that information is we need to put that negative 4 into our original equation. So I'm going to take my x squared plus 8x minus 20. Every time I see an x, I'm going to replace it with a negative 4. So I have a negative 4 squared. I replace that x with a negative 4 plus 8. I have an x again, so I'm going to replace that with a negative 4 and minus 20. And negative 4 squared becomes 16. 8 times 4 is 32. I have a negative times a positive, making that a negative 32. And the negative 20 just comes along. If you want to do this on the calculator, we can go ahead and do it on the calculator. It does come out to a negative 36. So I have 16 minus 32 minus 20. As I stated, a negative 36. So this is my y when my x value is negative 4. This is only a 10 by 10, so let's make these each 4. So negative 4, negative 8, -12, 16. What did I do? Oh, I see it. Okay. So now we're going to come back to our axis of symmetry, find 36, and then you connect your dots. That is also for C. It's wanting to know the vertex. We already found that. Our vertex is a -4, -36. That is this point right here. -4, -36. Oh, and I put that in the wrong spot. Hold on. All right, B then is asking, identify the y-intercept. And there's two ways to do this. One, we can check the graph. So our y-intercept is where the graph goes through the y, which would be roughly about there, or we can solve for it. Solving is actually very easy. So we have our y equals, again, we have x squared plus 8x minus 20. Every time we see these x values, we're going to replace them with zeros because we're not trying to move left and right, we're just trying to move up and down. So this becomes 0 squared plus 8 times 0 minus 20. 0 squared is 0, 8 times 0 is 0, minus 20. So what we're left with is -20. So our y-intercept then is -20, which is also reflected on the graph. Question D then is asking, is this graph positive or negative? There's two ways to check this as well. The first way is to look at our equation. If there is a symbol in front of this first x, such as a minus sign, it is negative. If there's nothing there, it is positive. This graph is positive. Another way to check is by actually looking at the graph. This one is opening up. My arrows are pointing up, it is positive. If it was going the other way, facing down, more like a hill, that would be negative. So that is my positive graph. All right, question E then, does this graph have a maximum or minimum? My graph is in a U shape, which means I have a minimum. Here is the lowest point of my graph. I can't go any further. If my graph was more of a hill, there's that top point, kind of like you're standing on it. You can't go any further. That would be a maximum. So this graph then has a minimum. Oops, apparently I can't spell today either. There we go. All right. Last question. Give an example for what the graph could represent. The graph that we looked at in class was in regards to dolphins. So there are several different things that you could say about this. We're going below the x-axis, which means that we're going down. Examples, you could say you are throwing a ball into a valley and it came up, or maybe there's a hole. Maybe you're throwing something in the hole and it's coming back up. You could also work the other way. You can say you're throwing something behind you and it's bouncing back up. You could do something jumping in and out of the water. That would work as well. There are various different answers. And I'm going to write answers will vary because you need to come up with your own answer. However, this is not an actual answer. I saw lots of people do this on the midterm. This is not an actual answer. I want you to actually give me an answer of what this could be. All right, that is the last question. If you have any further questions, please reach out. If you have any questions, good luck finishing the exam. I hope this is helpful. Have a great rest of your day.